Here.
Paul Tenney,
Here.
Benjamin Stanley,
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Michael Harrison,
Present.
Joseph Buckman.
I'm here, John.
Sean is here, a commission liaison, Eric Cunningham.
Yeah, Kalamazoo.
Thanks for joining us. And our newest board member, Rachel Hughes Nilsson.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Introduction of guests. Sean, do we have a guest out there? You're on mute.
Not that I'm seeing. I think that's all board members.
Okay. Any special presentations? I'm not seeing any.
Nope.
Approval of our March minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to read those?
The only thing I would add, it doesn't really matter, is it said fat bikes. I would just call it fat tire bikes. But besides that, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes if that's okay.
Is there a second?
I was second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Approval of minutes passed. Old business. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board workday and meeting in a park. Sean, is that you? Where did you go?
I'm here. I just ran to get a note. I don't know that that was me. I think we as a group need to decide what we want to do and where and when. There are a number of opportunities throughout the system. So I think if you guys have a passion for a certain park, we can certainly find things to do regardless of what park we select. So I guess I kind of put it out to you guys. I'm happy to make some recommendations if that's appropriate. Whatever your pleasure.
Yeah, I think we should put Spring Valley, at least the skating rink area, on that list. And I don't know if we can schedule that for our next meeting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other parks that we haven't been to, maybe.
I think we were in Spring Valley, is that 3 years ago now, John? It's been a while.
It's been quite a while, yeah.
So I certainly agree we can do that one. And then maybe at that meeting, pick the next location based on what we think. Whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, let's start there.
Well, do we want to set something up so that if residents want to join us, they know where we'll be at what month? Sean, are there months that I was going to say months that we need to be away from Mayor's Riverfront Park, but I guess that doesn't matter since we're doing Zoom. So I guess that point is moot.
Yeah, so maybe there's two questions actually, John, right? Where do we want to meet and should we be meeting? I don't recall what the state guidelines are. I know I'm comfortable with it, but I would imagine there could be people on the board that aren't comfortable meeting in person yet. So we want to be a little sensitive to that as well. Yeah, so does anybody feel uncomfortable meeting in person at Spring Valley Park for our next meeting?
I'm okay with it as long as I will continue to wear my mask, but I'm okay. Our group is small enough.
Would we be allowed? Would
Go
we
ahead,
be allowed
Rachel.
to have a?
I was just going to say I would wear a mask and distance myself as well. Nobody in my family's vaccinated yet, so I really don't want to put anybody at risk. Sean knows this. He and I have had many a conversation on this.
Benjamin,
I think
you
being
had a
a
comment?
city-sponsored meeting, it would we would need to socially distance and mask up for sure, even though we're outside.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to do a hybrid as well so that people that didn't feel comfortable coming would be allowed to still participate virtually?
It might have to be call in. I'll have to check with IT and see how we would facilitate that. I'm sure I could probably secure a hotspot and bring my laptop, but I can follow up on that. That's a good idea.
All right, is that something we need to vote on then?
Do we just want to do our May meeting at this point?
Yeah, and let's do that, John. Let's
Okay.
yeah, put our May meeting on the schedule at Spring Valley Park. And Spring Valley Park is really big, so I'll have to bring up the map. But I'm pretty sure there's that meeting area near the ice rink, kind of on the northeast side, maybe. And let's plan on meeting there. But we can send out further and more specific instructions later.
And the staff can pull together some picnic tables so we can distance our. We can take tables and we can set it up so that it's conducive to having an outdoor.
All right, and then as our meeting progresses this evening, if anybody is inspired to go see a park, we can recommend that, and then we can maybe assemble our schedule for the rest of the summer.
Okay. May's meeting will be at Spring Valley Park, same time. Go ahead, Michael.
I just want to know, is that something that we need to make a motion for, or, kind of support, or just as we move forward, do we plan accordingly? Like just kind of, as we identify which one is next, we just kind of submit our calendars accordingly.
I guess I don't think we need to vote on it. Unless people would be more comfortable doing that.
I think the important thing is that there's a public record that, hey, we are meeting at a location. And Sean, that's something you handle, correct?
Yep, I take care of that through, well, actually I don't. Shannon would notify the clerk's office that our meeting is at a different location. And then
Okay.
she'll put out the appropriate documents at City Hall and online.
Perfect.
And Sean, we don't necessarily have to have the picnic tables there, so awkward. Just folding collapsible tables will work fine with me.
You
2 or
noticed I
3.
backed away from picnic tables there and went to the other accommodations. So yeah, we'll get it set up.
Okay.
Any other comments? Item 2, adopt a park program update.
That is me. We are getting prepared to launch that, I think, in a couple weeks. And so there would be some expanded information via our website. As you folks already know, we do have a couple parks that have already been adopted. So I think once we get the word out,
Mm.
so that's
think-
nice.
I think we lost you for a minute, Sean, or was that just me?
Nope, he
No,
froze.
you did.
Okay.
I need to move. Come back to me.
So you're there now.
Okay. Yeah, my internet's wacky out on the sun porch sometimes. So we do have several parks, actually 3, including junior girls. So I think once we get more information out there, we'll see more parks get adopted. And we provide the trash bags, some, light tools as needed, trash pickers, and then we of course come in and pick up the trash bags. John, actually I almost forgot, John and a group did some work at Upjohn Park. So that's much appreciated. So there is some momentum there and some work being done. And I think as we get more information out there, I think we'll start to see a little bit more adoption, which will be good.
Sean, are you looking at like corporation groups? Are you looking at family groups? Anything?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
I would love to see, a business adopt a park. Like a Southside Park, there's some factories around there, the bread company. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Chris, did you have a comment?
I actually had a question about how are we handling communication between the individuals or groups who adopt the park, and then I guess with the park departments. Like how do we know if they find somebody or if they find something of note, or how do we know that they're still actively, I don't know, participating in the program?
Yeah, the Rotary folks contact me. I think eventually that'll fall on Shannon and Kaya, our event coordinators, to coordinate volunteers and have communication with those folks. It doesn't necessarily make sense that I happen to be the contact with the Rotary folks because I know Rob Peterson well and he's a friend. But generally speaking, it would be Shannon and Kaya would have that communication.
Any other comments?
I think with, once we start getting feedback from those that might be interested, and we'll be able to, I know there are, like Sean said, we have Crane that's adopted. We have LaCrone Park that's adopted by the Deacons Conference. We have the junior girls who have the MLK Park. Those three are the ones that I'm aware of. And then Sean mentioned somebody that's doing something over at Upjohn Park. But I think once we start getting feedback from these interested people, we'll be able to identify. But I think that we do, moving forward, I'm sure there's going to be something in place where we'll be able to monitor who has what park. Because it's going to ask for the contact information, I'm sure.
And ultimately, at the end of the year, we'd like to do some sort of picnic or something to the volunteer groups to show our appreciation. So, and you folks would obviously be invited to that.
Thank you, Sean. Item 3, remaining board vacancies. Sean, is that going to be you?
Yeah, that was me. That was just kind of a follow-up from, I think we received an application from Caitlin Becken, who is works for the People's Food Co-op and makes the farmers market happen. And I think my suggestion, I think I made it to Chris and John, was she could be a non-voting member of the board. We're limited on the number of voting members we could have. But you folks, if you wanted to go that route, she could be on the board and she could certainly provide, information and feedback, but she wouldn't be able to vote on things. And historically, we've had, people leave for whatever reason, they move, their term's up. It'd almost be like you have somebody kind of waiting in the wings to step up instead of having to, to go find someone.
I guess my thought on that is, can we possibly make the youth representative position a non-voting representative? Is that an option?
I think per the ordinance that the youth person is a voting member. If you had another youth, if you wanted to have, more youth representation, which I don't think is a terrible idea, you could certainly have a non-voting youth member as well. And the Youth Advisory Council that we're working with right now, we could certainly have someone from that group join. That was kind of one of the goals I had, is to have them elect a representative to PRAB. So, and I know you had a person that you were recruiting as well.
I've lost contact with her. I've tried several times, and I've lost contact with her. So, so I guess at this point, I guess my preference is let's get that candidate on our agenda for next month.
Okay.
I'm not happy that I've allowed her to kind of sit and wait. But I wanted to have the conversation about a youth representative.
Yeah.
So let's put her on the agenda for next month, and we'll go from there.
Did you want to, and this is entirely up to you and Chris, do you want to have a formal vote on that? As far as having a non-voting member, it probably makes sense. You probably need to take action on that, I would guess.
I think it does make sense. Can someone make that motion that we would like to add a board member who is a non-voting member?
I'll make that motion. Make a motion to add. Oh, can I not make that, John?
No, I think Michael wanted to say something.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you.
No, I was just going to ask question. I just had a question about that because I wanted to get some clarity about fit. So if we add a non-voting member, we have a great candidate, what is it?
We lost you, Michael.
Darn internet.
I know when
I was just going to ask, what is being voted on actually? Is that just whether there could be a non-voting member added, or is that
Right.
on whether we're adding this person?
Adding a non-voting member, and then she would be on the next agenda to introduce herself, talk about her experience, why is she interested, and then you would approve her as a non-voting member.
Okay, so we could, in theory, have as many non-voting members as we want. So
I think that would be up to you folks.
Okay.
So that would kind of like be having a permanent guest almost.
I think yes. And I think the good thing about it is, you could, if you have a really good candidate that wants to be involved, you're kind of grooming them to become a board member.
I agree. Michael, are you back with us?
I'm sorry about that. I got horrible reception, but it's a quiet house. I just wanted to just get as we get good candidates and they're being groomed for the position, what do good candidates look like? For instance, if we have a good youth candidate, how would he be groomed for a position, that we have on the board to make sure it be multiple candidates, not, like we're searching for one or trying to identify one that might fall, through the cracks. So what are we looking for and how do we fill it?
I guess from my perspective, I personally, I'm looking for someone with some sort of expertise when it comes to either our parks or our recreation program. Kind of on a lesser note, I want to make sure that people can and will attend meetings. And in the past, we've had a few people that were on the board, but didn't show up often. I know we've discussed in the past that we'd like diversity when it comes to neighborhoods, just so that we have a different perspective from representatives from different neighborhoods. Yeah. Anyone else?
No, I think you got it. We're looking for diversity of background, diversity of neighborhoods, diversity in general, but people that are interested, that have some energy around Parks and Recreation and that are going to attend meetings. And I think through the very basic, interview method we utilize, we tend to find that out. We don't hit them all on the head, but for the most part, we find out what we need to find out.
Does that answer your question, Michael? And do we have a motion to add a non-voting member to our board?
I'll make that motion, John.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Good suggestion, Sean. Glen Park update. Sean, do you have an update on that? Sean, you're on mute.
I don't. I know a lot of us were tasked with various duties, so.
I think that I can talk to this. So from our meeting with the Oakwood Winchell Neighborhood Association, I think the biggest complaint was that they didn't really know what we wanted to do, which I feel is a little disingenuous, but it is fair for them to say that not all the information was essentially in one place. So I have created a document that outlines the trail, like the width of it, the length of it, its map, its location, its direction, using, essentially how we want to use the terrain of Glen Park, and the building techniques that we're going to use to mitigate any erosion, because erosion was one of the board members' big concerns. And anything pertaining to the trail and how we build the trail has been documented. I did share a link, it might have been last night or a few nights ago, with Paul, with you, and then Sean, because I want to make sure that we get everything that really should be in there. And I really want to keep that document to trail specific stuff only, just so they know exactly what we're trying to do. So at some point I need to go over that with you guys. I could, if we have the capability of sharing screens, I could actually bring that up right now. Or
I'm comfortable with that if we can do it. I'm tech illiterate, so.
let me see if I can do this.
Let me ask this. Do we, as a group, like our little subcommittee, need to spend time on that before we bring it to this group? And I'm okay with either way, just putting it out there.
Yeah, I think we need to spend a little bit of time before we send it back to the neighborhood association.
Yeah.
But I think I'm comfortable with showing it to you guys, just so everyone's in the loop.
Yep.
All right, let me see if I can do this.
While we're getting that up, the only question I have right now is, what is the trail going to be made out of? Is it like wood chips or gravel or asphalt or?
That is actually in the document. It's just going to be packed dirt. So we're keeping it nice and simple.
Chris, and I just wanted to make sure you know that there's probably more than just the board watching the meeting tonight, if you're comfortable with that.
That is a good point. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
But that's a good call out. Thanks. I am trying to approve my.
Amanda might have to give you that access. I'm not sure. Or IT.
It looks like on my Mac, I need to actually quit and enter back in order to share my screen. So let's do this. Let's just hold off on that. And then Paul and Sean, did you guys get links to that document?
Yeah, I have a link. I opened it up. Everything's there. Haven't got busy at work. Didn't review in the past 2 days, I think. So
okay, yeah.
Should be able to do that though. So.
Yeah, and if either of you want to sit down somewhere and go over it together, I'm more than happy to do that. I think those small sessions we've had together in the past have been really productive. So there's that. So I think that's the biggest piece we need. So Sean, once we're good with, exactly in very clear terms what we're building, then we can start seeing how many questions that answers for them, which I think is going to be a lot. Right, because I don't remember, was it Michael or Benjamin had the question about what we're building it with? Like, I think that was one of their questions. So that's in the document. So that's good. And I'm really trying to get this out the door because I lose a ton of sleep over this. So I need to get this done as soon as I can. Another note, one of the questions the neighborhood association had, which we don't really have a good answer to, and there may not be a good answer, is how many people we expect to use this trail when it's complete. So I've been doing recon over at Lexington Green Park in Portage. Let me bring up my notes real quick. Because essentially that's kind of the inspiration of what we're doing. Theirs is a plastic pump course that's assembled, and we're not doing that. Ours is going to be cut into the earth, but otherwise there's a lot of similarities. So some notes for that are I was there 3 days last year and no one was using it. I went again Saturday at 4 p.m. It was a nice day out, a little windy. My kids and I used it. No one was there. Sunday afternoon, I went over there, and Sunday afternoon was, up until today, probably the nicest day of the year. I mean, gorgeous. We showed up there and there wasn't a soul there. And part of me was a little disappointed. I talked to the park ranger there, Lance. He said it's lightly used. And he gave me his information if we need to ask him any questions on it. He's there 3 days a week. After about 45 minutes, a BMX kid showed up, a high school kid, did 2 loops around it and left. And then after an hour, like a family showed up on bikes. And then 10 minutes later, another family showed up on bikes. And then 10 minutes later, another family showed up from Mattawan. And I've got a picture of 7 kids riding around in this thing, and it's all clogged up, and it is amazing. Like, I was standing there with my kids, you know, it must have been 75 degrees out, and I'm like, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing, to get all these young families and kids outside. And I almost got choked up about it. It was incredible. So again, it was inspiring, and I'm really excited about this opportunity. I think that's all I have to say. Oh yeah, and there is no official census that Portage Parks keeps of any of their park usage where you just show up. So getting, I don't know, hard and fast data on park usage is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for my update. Action items are to review my current document with Paul, Sean, and possibly you, John. And then once we're good on that, then we need to compare that with the questions that they had and see if there's any other responses that are needed.
I appreciate it, Chris. I know I've kind of surprised you with this on the agenda, but I want this group to know that we're working on it and that we're not ignoring them.
No, I appreciate the emails, John. Yeah, no, they're good motivation. So thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it, Chris, and Paul, and Sean. New business, youth representative roles. Sean, is that you and I? You or I?
Yeah, we kind of covered it. I think once we get our youth advisory committee rolling, we would look to them to provide a representative. They're not ready. They're still kind of in their infancy, but I'm guessing, you know, maybe in a month or two, we can have that conversation with them and see if somebody's interested in helping us.
Well, and in the meantime, I'll reach out to my candidate again. And I guess if any other board member has a youth who would potentially be interested in participating in the board, have them submit an application.
I guess I'm a little bit curious on what I know when I was younger, I would be a little bit bored with some of the things that we're talking about that are important to talk about. I don't know if we wanted to try and shape the youth role to be a little bit different at all, or if we just wanted to give someone younger the opportunity to do what we're doing.
I think part of it is getting their perspective as it relates to our parks and programs and really getting, some input from them. And I think we can have the conversation with the person coming on board and just kind of let them know that we definitely want to hear from you. So don't be afraid to speak up. So, and we can coach them and help them through that, because I'm sure they'll be a little intimidated by a large group of adults. And I just think we got to make it easy and comfortable for them to speak up and share their ideas.
Question. Would this be the same as the Youth Advisory Council, where we talked about, there were, on Facebook, I remember the Park and Recreation had put out information for anybody that was interested in serving on the advisory council. And then out of the applications, we were gonna narrow it down to about like 13 youth. Are we talking about the same thing?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
group has been meeting now for probably 3 months-ish.
Okay. And we got about 13?
Yeah, I don't know how many people have been actively attending meetings, but it's right around there.
Okay.
I think they voted to add a few more people. So I think it was around 16 people.
So who is overseeing this?
That's Chad Went from our team.
Chad.
He's our youth
Okay.
coordinator. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank
And they're
you.
very excited. They've got a lot of energy and a lot of ideas, and it's good.
I think it's also, I think it's gonna work out. We'll need their input. And like, we do have to give them that level of ownership and making them, well, we need to hear from them.
Yep.
Some of the things that they would like to see happen from their perspective. So I think I'm looking forward to the group forming.
And I think, like, to address Ben's kind of question, I think we're looking for them to serve on the board, just like our role on the board. And so we just need to be clear with the applicants that it is somewhat of a boring, like, I don't know, meeting structure. And it's not like it's designed for, like, this is how it's going to be. And so I think that just as long as we're honest with them up front with what this board does, their expectations can be set and they can decide whether they're interested in it. So, because we do want their perspective
Yeah.
in these meetings, so they have to be at this meeting.
Any other comments?
I would like to make one.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Gary Lee McCormick. He is our guest tonight. He has a comment on this topic.
Yes.
Go ahead, Gary Lee.
For those of you who don't know me, I chaired this board for a long time, and we have had 2 teenagers on the board, and they were very, very helpful. And they, I don't recall that they found it boring. They were very active, and they were very excited that they were able to be part of the group.
Thank you, Gary Lee. Item 2, art donation. Sean, are you going to lead that conversation?
I can, and then I'll turn it over to Gary Lee for a minute. I think I sent you guys an image, and Gary Lee has been nice enough to kind of be the conduit for us to I think it's a really cool piece of what would be public art. I think we need more public art throughout the community. It's a very contemporary draft. I'll let Gary Lee tell you the specifics, but He is willing to donate it to us. And I think we could find an awesome home for it in a park. You folks would need to obviously approve, accept the donation, and then we'd have to figure out the where. That's the kind of logistics part of it. But I'll actually turn it over to Gary Lee to tell you a little bit more about the piece.
The piece is an 11-foot bronze giraffe. It's Rick Light was the sculptor. He has since passed. And if you've seen pictures, the pictures do not do it justice. It is amazing. And 11 feet is big. And John and I, on Friday, we walked around Crane Park. And my feeling is that I would love to see it in that front area of the park. And Crane Park is the park that is the dearest to my heart. And I think it would be an amazing thing there. And one of the things that you might be concerned about, it would be the cost of the installation. And I talked to Natalie last week, Patchell, and she feels that she can probably very easily raise the money for that. So if you have any questions.
Gary Lee, you had mentioned that it's part of an estate. Do you know how quickly it needs to be out of the studio?
I would think in the next couple months.
Okay. Okay, so it doesn't have to it doesn't have to be removed quickly.
Right.
Okay.
Is this the kind of statue that people can, like, lack of better words, like climb on and touch and push?
And Benjamin, that was my concern is that it is quite large, and my concern was that someone would attempt to climb on it. And that was my hesitation.
It would be very difficult.
Sean, do we have an image of it? Is there something that are you in a position where you can share that image?
Give me a second.
Okay.
I'll see if I can track one down.
Okay. Any other comments? I
did have another question.
Go ahead, Benjamin.
What kind of installation were you thinking of? Like a concrete pad or like a raised, erected thing so it's high up?
Can any of you, can you see this?
Actually, yes, we can.
You got the mini guy? Oh yeah.
But now the image shows 3 and
Yeah, there are 3 of them.
But we're not getting 3, correct?
Well, depends on how Sean's budget is for the other 2. It could be arranged.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to know the cost.
Could you show that one more time? Sorry.
No problem.
That's okay. And Gary Lee, are you actually standing next to it?
No, this is my iPhone.
No. I mean, oh, okay. So it's not, how do I want to say, I'm not an art critic, but it's not a realistic giraffe. It's
Contemporary.
Modern.
Contemporary, thank you. Yes.
And I wouldn't have known that unless Gary Lee told me that. So don't think I'm some super smart art guy.
And it's brass, Gary Lee?
Bronze.
Okay. And
I guess I know obviously like most of these parks are like Crane Park is right near Upjohn, that neighborhood. Whatever I'm trying to think what it's called, the hills there. I wonder if the neighborhood association, or if there's like a neighborhood plan or any group that would need to like give their input into it, or whether as the parks board, we're kind of, the parks are our domain, so we do things. I mean, like this thing coming up with Glen Park is what's making me think of this, is like you add anything that's artistic or changing the park as it was designed, and suddenly definitely the neighborhood's going to be interested, if not resistant to it. So it doesn't need to be in Crane Park, and if so, like, do we need to go to Crane Park to discuss it if this would be acquired?
West Hill neighborhood, we would definitely want to have a conversation with those folks for sure.
Were there any other parks in consideration for this installation?
Sean, I thought you had a second potential location.
My initial thought was Dutton Street Park, in the really cool front part of the park that's all flowers. Some of it would be lost, you know, because those flowers get to 4 or 5 feet tall, so you wouldn't see the legs. But I thought it'd be kind of cool, just kind of sticking up out of the flowers. But I think I like the idea of Crane. It would, and when you say front part, Gary, you mean more towards the road, the front of the park?
Right.
It's near west. Okay. It would need to be in a well-lit area, because my concern would be vandalism, and you know, I can see it being a senior prank to climb up on the giraffe and get your picture taken. And so we would have to consider, you know, do we want to put some sort of barrier around it, just in a, you know, the right signage to keep some people away from it. But
And when Gary Lee and I were at Crane Park, our thought was to keep it back from the sidewalk. And we also discussed perhaps having it lit so that at night, you know, it would be visible if someone were attempting to perhaps vandalize it. I know that would add to the cost, so.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, if I know one thing about Natalie, if she says she can raise some money, she will go out and do it.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Rachel, go ahead.
I'm curious about the installation as well. Are you looking at doing, you know, a deep concrete foundation to hold this in place? Are you looking at putting concrete paving around there? I think my biggest concern is if somebody does climb on it and then falls off, if there's concrete underneath and they hurt themselves, you know, it's just like a piece of playground equipment, you know, what's the liability on the city then for that?
I think if you put a sign that says "Do not climb," you know, just a little plaque, I think that would take care of that.
Doesn't.
Well, we have tons of insurance and governmental immunity, so as long as, you know, it's not unsafe, as long as we, you know, do something to keep it reasonably safe, we should be okay. That's not to say the fence around it has, like, you know, sharp posts or anything like that. It's got to be reasonably safe, and we should be fine.
We can't electrify the fence?
I would advise not to do that.
Hey,
Not saying I disagree. I'm just saying we shouldn't do it.
I did have a picture of the artwork, Sean, that you had sent John and I earlier, and I did forward that to the rest of the group. So
okay.
if,
Cool,
if
thank
you
you.
want to see that, you can check your email.
Do we at this point want to vote on accepting it, and then at some other date we can determine where it goes?
I would like to make a motion to accept this gift of a bronze giraffe statue to be placed in a park in Kalamazoo.
Wow, great.
I second.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. Master Gardener Program. Michael, is that you? Michael Erickson?
Yes, so it is me. So I reached out. I didn't get a chance to reach out to anybody in the city. I got an email from the Master's Gardeners program out of Michigan State University, Mr. Rifton Graham, who I kind of introduced the same idea to. And he said, great, we'd love to help you, but we just like to inform you that we're shut down for 2021 just based off of COVID. So he said they're suspending all volunteering, including all Master Gardeners programs and kind of assistance. So it's pretty much shut down for this year. So my thinking based off of that was just trying to identify individuals who are already currently Master Gardeners in our community and just identifying what communities they work within and then trying to, see what we can bridge out from there. But as far as getting some participation from Michigan State, unfortunately, they're shut down due to COVID restrictions.
Sean, do you know if that's something that Chris and Natalie Patchell would be interested in, or can we reach out to them?
Oh yeah, we can absolutely reach out to Natalie. It's more Natalie than Chris, but yeah, was the thought here like a mentorship program, an educational opportunity? Is that right? Okay. Yeah. Yep, I can definitely reach out to her.
Perfect. I know I know most of her group at Crane Park are Master Gardeners, so it would be nice to utilize their expertise. So,
Absolutely.
thank you, Sean. A non-voting board member, Sean, have we resolved that?
Yeah, we took care of that earlier.
Okay. I think we've done adopt the park program communication. Benjamin, did we answer your questions on that?
So we just contact the Parks Department and let them know like who wants to join, and then we communicate about flowers and t-shirts, and
Yep.
is that kind of it?
You can, if you have people that are interested, you can direct them to me and I'll hand them off to Shannon or Kaya. I don't know if that's going to be one or both, but yeah, if I can be the initial point of contact for sure.
Okay, awesome.
Protest in parks. Benjamin, you wanted to discuss that topic?
I'm not sure if we have any official policies or viewpoints or anything like that. So I know that last year there were a number of protests, and I don't think any of them were in city parks. There's one at Arcadia. I know
Arcadia is a city park.
I think Arcadia is in the city, but I don't think it's owned by the city, is it?
It's city owned, but not operated by the city.
Oh, okay. There we go. And I guess I was just wondering, like, if somebody wants to, just with everything going on in the world right now, if people are organizing, is the parks a good place to do that if it's communicated appropriately and planned out, and they have an idea of who's going to go and what they want to do? Or is that something is there already a fleshed out idea of how?
Well, typically what happens is there's either a request to the city manager's office or Kalamazoo Public Safety. And then typically, we can't prohibit groups from, organizing a protest in a park. That did happen a number of times last year, and we were in the loop in most cases. Now, as an example with Bronson Park, if they want the stage and sound and power and those types of things, that they need to reserve the park. But if they just want to show up on a Saturday and the park's not being used, they're free to do that, and that has happened a number of times. And Bronson's kind of been the key spot. It's kind of the center of the city, and everybody knows where it's at. So, and we've worked with a number of groups. They've had questions and wanted information about the stage or what they could or couldn't do in the park. So, and we've just facilitated those through either the city manager's office or public safety. And I would assume those will still continue to happen, and it's a great venue for it. So
Awesome. Sounds like that answers all. I was just, I've heard some things going around, and it seemed like people were getting a different response, but what I've heard right now seems more like what I was expecting. So thanks.
Thank you. Event recommendations. We have 2 events this month. Coco Candors is presenting Afro Pride in Bronson Park, July 10. Setup is at 10 a.m. The event is from noon to 7 p.m. with teardown at 8 p.m. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the event? Any questions, comments? Do we have a motion on that event?
I'll motion to approve the event.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So moved. Second event is Julie Kaiser, Jesus Loves Kazoo, One Worship at Bronson Park, July 11th. Set up at 9 a.m. Event is from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Teardown is at 7:30. Any comments, any questions, concerns about that event?
One comment about this event is, for those of you who are new to the board, she's been doing this and similar events for years, and we've never had any issues. So
Good.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this event.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion approved. Any citizen comments?
No citizens' comments at this time.
Thank you. Gary Lee, do you have any more comments?
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for joining. We appreciate it.
I want to thank the commissioner for allowing me to use him.
Thank you, Eric. Eric Cunningham, any comments?
No, not at this time. Great work, team. I appreciate all of the work that you guys are doing for our community. I see a lot of ingenuity and creativity coming along, so that's definitely exciting.
Thank you, Eric. Sean, are you going to talk about Friends of Recreation?
No real update. We are working on the golf outing and then a benefit concert in, I think, August after a Growlers game. So I'll get specifics to you folks on those as we get more concrete plans.
Parks and Recreation Director monthly report. Any update for us, Sean?
Of course. I'm going to start with the most exciting news. The bids were awarded for the farmers market.
All right.
So super exciting because work will begin most likely late April. That project will take a year. That includes the realignment of Bank Street, upgrades to the vendor sheds, a new vendor shed, all new parking. And for those of you that know, this has been, 15 years in the making. So it's so awesome to see, we're getting to the end of the tunnel, and I'm so excited about how it's going to look. And we're going to do some cool overhead drone photos of the site now, and then kind of the during, so we can show that time lapse. But very exciting times for the market. The market is, so a lot of the tables have been moved to Mayor's, so the market for 21 will be at Mayor's Riverfront Park. That seemed to be the best location, just due to all the infrastructure we have there with parking and restrooms and community room and just lights and such. So excited about that. We know it's not the best. It's not like the existing market, but you know, short-term pain for long-term gain. So we're excited about that. Let's see, we are going to open kick pool this summer. We will open it. There will be capacity limits. And that will be based on COVID protocols and guidelines that are in place. But we know that it's very important to operate it safely. We know that we can't have large crowds. And my guess is we'll just have a record hot summer and everybody will want to be at the pool. But of course, you know, we won't be able to have everybody at the pool, but I think it's better to have it open than not. So we're excited about that. And then the bids for Martin Luther King Park improvements will be opened on April 21st. We're flexible on the construction dates with that project. Pam and the junior girls do some flower planting, so we want to kind of see what makes the most sense. Because that's not a super long project, so we could maybe start that in August, so we still have the benefit of some flowers in that park. But a lot of nice improvements, including irrigation, fixing some of the flags of cement. We're going to plant the trees most likely in the fall and have tree guards, improvements to the flower beds. A lot of good things happening there. Get the electrical fixed and housed appropriately. But a lot of that park's been in need, and we'll get those improvements done. And do you want to add anything to that, Pam?
Well, we're looking forward to getting the work started as soon as possible. We really won't know whether or not we're going to be able to plant the flowers the way that we want to if it gets too late in the season. I went past that park today and several days this week, and I'm telling you, there is a serious problem that's gonna need to be addressed, probably with public safety, about maybe 100 people. And, you know, a lot of them are, you know, now beginning to bring their grocery carts full of their household belongings and things of that nature. And I mean, a lot of litter that is taking place, and I don't know what we're going to be able to do to curtail the activity that's taking place with some of the park improvements. I'm hoping that during the time that the construction is taking place, maybe signage could be put up where, you know, we can say that the park is temporarily closed due to construction, because I mean, we're looking at doing some serious major concrete work, as well as doing something with the brick pavers and things like that. And it's not going to be safe for a lot of the activities that's taking place. The alley has been closed off, and I think that that's been helpful because people are not parking their cars and just hanging out their cars or playing the loud music and things like that. But I mean, they're just trashing the park already. And I don't know if we can do a trash receptacle contest or whatever to encourage the people to dump their trash, or, you know, maybe talking with the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission or Ministry with Community to, you know, maybe put out flyers or something asking them to put their trash. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think that we need to change the perception of that park. And I think with some of the park improvement, I think with some of the dedications that's going to be made when we recognize individuals that have passed on, you know, we have some remarkable people that we're going to be recognizing with the plaques for the trees and bringing the community, I think with our partners and things like that. And as we continue to work with the youth to get them involved and, working with the Parks Advisory Board to, to have things more geared to take place in a constructive way in the park, where the youth each month, hopefully we can have a activity going on. And, people don't feel safe right now going into that park, but we have really, and it's right in the heart of downtown, a beautiful park where it's being underutilized, and it's unfortunate. But it's important that as a community, we step up and try to, if I say bring in the public safety or whatever, we don't want it to come to the same situation that Bronson Park was experiencing. When I say people are bringing their personal belongings, their blankets, and starting to camp out, all day long after they have to leave the ministry with community. So it's going to take a great effort. It's going to take a great effort, but we are still committed and thankful to the city of Kalamazoo that we're going to be able to make some much needed improvements.
I will give public safety a heads up. My guess is they may already know, but I will make sure they're in the loop. And that way Chief Coakley can assign the right people to monitor that.
Yes.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
when you say activities in the park, do you mean perhaps illegal activities?
None that I'm aware of. I have not actually requested that information from public safety, but I do know last summer, even with the COVID, there were 2 shootings that took place in that park. And we don't want it to get to that level.
Right.
And so I have not witnessed, but it doesn't take much to trigger, illegal activity. It doesn't take a lot. And then with that amount of people, and some of them have issues that's going on, it's obvious, when you look at them. And when we have our partners, when we do come in, we'll be using COVID protocols and things like that, but we don't want to frighten our volunteers, nor do we want parents to feel that their kids are going to be in danger once we start planting the flowers and things like that. I mean, it's something we've been doing for 30 years, but each year it seemed like society, there are a lot of things that are going on. And so we've experienced the good and the bad. So, but yeah, there's other things that I like to share, maybe at our next meeting or something like that. And then, we have some photos that I have sent over to Sean, and, we are going to talk, and then, hopefully we can have further discussion regarding some of our plans at our next meeting.
And I think for the flower planting, if you can get me the date and time. I don't know if there's a community policing officer assigned. I would guess it would be the downtown, or if that's in the north side, there's a CPO, but I think we could have them be a part of that event.
Yes. Hopefully the crab board as well too.
I believe Officer Amir has been spending a lot of time down there.
What's the name?
Amir.
Amir? Okay.
Is it Emil?
Oh, it might be Emil. I think
yeah,
you're right.
because I called him Amir, I think.
Okay.
So
sorry.
No, that's okay. I've messed it up too.
That park's been a focus of many conversations on this board. I just wonder if we should ever meet down there.
I think so. I think the more active we as a community become, it has a way, not to say that, this is what Dr. King, Dr. King, I envision he was for everybody, all about social justice and things like that, and you know, people, whenever you have a landmark that's named after Dr. King, there are people that, be it a boulevard or whatever, there are people that, for whatever the reason, they congregate and they talk about his work. But then again, you have to demonstrate too, you know, if you really care for what he stood for, you know, would you continue to trash the park the way that you do? And so I think as we, as a community, we as a board, the more visible or we become and start utilizing that park more, encourage the families that, I think that that could be a change. And then, you know, I think that it's going to be important too that we work with other youth organizations as well as the NAACP, the Northside Minister Alliance. There are many partners in what that approach. I think, you know, I have shared with Sean that, you know, I want to put together a letter of intent so that the board can review the document with some of the changes that we're proposing. And, you know, looking forward to receiving some advice, you know, from us as a board.
Paul, I think that's an excellent suggestion. Does anybody have any objections to meeting at Martin Luther King Park for our June meeting?
I do not.
Because Pam, you do an awesome job of calling attention to a lot of the issues down there. And as a board, I don't know if we've ever met down there. And that's something we need to do.
I agree.
I think that's a great idea. Do we want to make a motion? Do we? I mean, I'm comfortable making that decision if we'd like to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll make a motion that we meet at Martin Luther King Park for our June meeting.
I would love to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That's where we'll have our June meeting, Martin Luther King
Great.
Park.
Great.
Excellent. Sean, did you have anything further?
I do not.
Actually, I guess I'll make my comments about Blanche Hull Park. Can you tell us what happened there? Yeah.
Well, we had a group that camped there in the winter months and left. You probably saw some images on TV. Some of it snow covered, some of it not. And as soon as we discovered it, you know, we made arrangements to get it cleaned up. But
We lost you, Sean.
in the parks, because, you know, some folks are finding these spots, and, you know, surprisingly, it doesn't take long to accumulate a lot of garbage and trash. So we have to stay on top of that. And as soon as we become aware of it, we work with public safety and we ask those folks to move along and give them other options. And, you know, we've tried to get them to clean up before they leave, but that doesn't always work. So.
Do you have an estimation about the number of people that were there?
Yeah, we think that was only 3 to 4 people.
Wow.
Any idea on the cost of cleanup for that?
I don't remember. I don't know if we've gotten the invoice for that yet. We used college haulers, student haulers, who's does a lot of the work for public services for cleanups and such. So, and they're great to work with, and some great before and after pictures. Unfortunately, we had great before and after pictures. So that one's frustrating.
Yeah.
Can we actually see those images at our next meeting?
I will get them. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed sharing images during our meeting to add a little more interest, and I think that would be great for us to see. Do you know if any biohazards were found?
No,
Needles?
No.
Okay.
Not at that one.
I know we've had a problem at the Rose Memorial Park. Anything further there?
No, that one, since the Mills Street location and the Ampersea location, those individuals, I think, have kind of migrated to one of those sites. So
Okay.
we haven't seen some of the issues we were having, which is good.
Okay. Anything else, Sean? Okay, thank you. Staff, Shannon, do you have any comments?
Nope, nothing from me.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'm going to include Rob in that. Rob, do you have any comments for us?
No, it's been sounding pretty good over here.
Okay, thank you. Board comments. Chris Ball, any comments?
Yeah, I think I have two comments. And I may have made this comment last month. I'm really liking the new form designs on their park use applications. So kudos to whoever did that. That's, I don't know, it's nice to modernize things every now and then. Also, Sean, kudos to you and your team, because as soon as that snow melted from Upjohn Park, I think you guys had that open within the week. And we were on it as well as other people skating at the skate park. And we've been there several times over the past 2 weeks. And the vibe is awesome. And we've been having a blast. So kudos to you and your team. I actually got fist bumped by all the kids when I left last time we were there. And so my kids are giving me big respect.
Pam, any comments?
No, I've shared enough. Thanks anyway.
Paul, any comments?
No, thanks.
Benjamin? Benjamin, you're on mute.
There we go. I do have a couple of questions. I'm gonna go out this gate. So so I get questions every time I come in here. People are calling me the ambassador to the park now. And so one is, when is the water gonna get turned on? And I said early to mid-April, whenever it gets warm out. And the other question is the gate out front. And I've been telling people that the people that open and close those gates are like seasonal employees, and they are not employed yet. So once that happens, I don't know if there's any way that we can put up a date for some of these things so that when people try to find out, they can do that online. And then
You're
also,
at the dog park, right?
I am, yep.
Okay, yeah.
And I just want to show you how the park is being used by people every day. And this is actually very slow. So I like that. And then some of the things that I've noticed, like the gate, you can see it's kind of like eaten into it there. And the gate gets really hard to open. It only opens like that far, and then it won't open anymore. A lot of people complain about this stuff. And I'm sure that there is a way for them to do it right now, but I don't know if there's a way that we can work on making it a little bit easier, because people try to bring this stuff up and they say like they said that they tried talking to one person and it didn't work, so they just gave up. And like, I'm super persistent and I've tried a few different times before I was on the board, and it is a little bit difficult. I don't know if there's a way people can like snap a picture of what they're talking about and like email it to the parks board or something. But that, just like that stuff, people's response a lot of times is frustration, and I get it. So I don't know if there's a way to improve that communication process at all.
I think we can, through a properly worded sign, we can have people, make a phone call to 311. That way it gets logged and we have to follow up on it and address it before it gets closed. And if they leave a number or an email, we can contact them that way.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Besides that, I guess I just want to say thank you to everybody. A lot of things that we talked about at this meeting are very inspiring and I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Michael?
Yeah, just one comment I have, just based off of the conversation I've heard tonight and just at other city functions, is just since the snow is melted and the weather has started to, turn nice, people are out and about, and just the amount of trash that's present, not necessarily in our parks, but on my way into the park, and then it's in the park once you get there. So what I would like us to consider, or maybe it's already been considered and we can reestablish, is just maybe a day where we say come to the parks, bring the families out, people to the community, to the parks, do a cleanup, and then kind of leave that trash there to be picked up by the city to kind of have a, total community city collaboration in keeping our parks clean. And that
Oh,
We lost you, Michael.
oh, wow.
I got the gist of it for sure.
Is that something we want to set a date for? Perhaps maybe at our next meeting, we can set a date where we can do something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember who I was having a conversation with. Actually, it was the Millwood Neighborhood Association board chair. And it just, to Michael's point, we as a Parks Department should set a date and engage, in an opportunity to engage the community and provide, trash bags and other resources, and just have a day where, people can clean up their favorite park or just go to the park, and, we can bounce some staff around and make it a department event. So the timing is definitely right. And I was kind of like, why have we not thought about that sooner?
Right.
So we can definitely do that. We'll engage Amanda and Neil and have them help us promote it. And I think it could become, I think there's a cleanup day. Is it early May that like downtown Kalamazoo, and I don't remember, maybe we could piggyback onto that, but I definitely think there could be some energy around that, and we could make a big event out of it community wide.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Thanks, Michael. Michael, any further questions or comments? Joseph, any comments?
Nothing here, John. Great discussion tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. I think that's everything we needed to discuss. I
What
appreciate
about Rachel? Did you go?
Rachel, yeah.
Rachel, I'm sorry. You were- Any-
I'm all set, but thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. I appreciate everybody coming tonight. We're adjourned.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.